You can do the smaller things when you go around again. Simple speech without I can put it on the book and I can play it. I would have to begin to. One English, one's money, it'd be great. And I have.
This is one more time. That's not good track.
And I have.
Can you tap that?
No, it's a.
Yes. It's up there. It's out. That is connected. It's connected, but it's telling us that there's something wrong. So it's still connecting, but it's not connected. That's what's giving us the feedback. I take the recall. Because even with
Wow, I know.
So that's why we always get the reference, the feedback. No, it's not. Yeah, it's that. So whenever they're talking, it's everything that what we were saying, that's the problem. And yes, we were trying to grow.
You'll see how different. You put a stick in the.
No, they're, we need to talk.
All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first budget hearing of our fiscal 2024 year, September 13th. I call this meeting to order at 7:02. Let's please call the roll.
Mr. Calvo is absent. Ms. Casal Munoz. Ms. Garcia Robes,
Present.
Ms. Perez,
Present.
Mr. Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby. Madam President, you have enough members to conduct business.
If we could please stand and have the invocation by Ms. Marbelis Pacho, our city clerk.
Lord, we pray for your guidance and direction and benefit of those who live and work in the city of Hialeah. Amen.
Amen. If we could please face the flag and if Ms. Casals Munoz would please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can we please have our meeting guidelines read?
The following guidelines have been established by the city council. All lobbyists must register with the city clerk. As a courtesy to others, please refrain from using cellular telephones or other similar electronic devices in the council chamber. A maximum of 3 speakers in favor and 3 speakers in opposition will be allowed to address the council on any one item. Each speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. No signs or placards in support of or in opposition to an item or speaker shall be permitted within the council chamber. Members of the public, whether participating via the web platform, telephonic conferencing, or physical presence at City Hall, may address the city council on any item pertaining to city business during the comments and questions portion of the meeting. A member of the public is limited to 1 appearance before the city council, and the speaker's comments will be limited to 3 minutes. The public can view public meetings on the city's YouTube page. Members of the public may hear the meeting live through telephonic conferencing using any telephone or cellular phone service. A smart device or computer are not necessary to participate in the meeting if you join by phone. All persons participating via the web platform will be muted during the meeting until called upon to be heard. Participation through Zoom requires a computer or smart mobile device with a microphone and web camera. The participant may elect to participate in the meeting using audio only or appear through both audio and video. The video function of all participants appearing through video will be turned off until called upon to be heard.
Thank you. Let's move on to the comments and questions portion of the meeting. Is there anyone in council chambers or online that would like to speak?
Hi. 5601 West 10th Avenue, Juan Santana.
Thank you. Good evening.
Mayor, like I discussed yesterday, I would like to see a code compliance director. Hopefully you can put it inside the budget. Secondly, I was very impressed that you guys are getting out of the school business. Another thing that we should be getting out of is actually this franchising business regarding charging residents 4% on the water. A lot of councilmen have run on this for several years regarding charging a franchising fee. And that's something, you know, when I ran for mayor as well, and I've seen Mayor Bobo walking around also, is the issue is always the water. And believe it or not, 4% every year, it starts to add up. Plus now we're getting hit with higher taxes from the county. And you guys just finished approving also to approve that, to make sure that you guys receive your budget as well. And I think it was 2 council meetings back. So, you know, just like you guys are getting out of the school business, maybe we should stop franchising the water as well for the city to get kicked back also. I don't know, I've been asking, and many of you know, I've been asking, how much money does the water department actually have in their bank account as a separate entity as well, even though the city manages it and controls it, and who runs it and this and that. And I know I'm happy to hear there's more transparency with the new director and all that, but at the same time, we need to bring more transparency to know this information. Every single one of you should know this, right? Just in case a resident does ask you, like I've been asking for many, many, many years, even before you were here, regarding how much money does the water department have in its budget. So since we're getting out of the school business, let's go ahead and get out of the franchising business regarding franchising the water, because we're getting hit with taxes and taxes and taxes. And at the end of the day, I can afford to live here. I don't care how much you guys want to raise it. Really, I can, me, but out of the thousands and thousands of people that I've spoken with for the last 15 years, they can't, you know, and then they start doing these nonsense of putting trailers behind their house to rent it because they just can't afford now to live in Hialeah. I don't know if it's a way to push it out, you know, but also, Mayor, if you can separate some money for nonprofits that have been doing stuff here for, you know, a long, very, very, very long time for them. I'm not going to apply for it. I promise. What's it called? But, you know, there's a lot of nonprofits here that do a lot for the city. You know, every other municipality, you know, they do stuff with the community building block grant. If you guys can separate more money for nonprofits and, you know, the pastoral and nonprofit board that you guys have, you know, they're great individuals and they love Hialeah and they want to keep doing more stuff for the residents. You know, that would also be great too. But that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Santana. Anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of the budget? Good evening.
Hi, Eric Johnson, Hialeah Firefighters, Local 1102, address exempt as per statute 112. First and foremost, congratulations to our wonderful police officers who signed a tentative contract with the city or a tentative deal. I think it's wonderful. They have been absolutely underpaid and understaffed for a very long time, and this provides them an incentive to stay instead of going to other places. In our particular fact, we have 3 fire departments to go to for 212 members. They have 36 places to go to, and that's why we see more attrition with the police officers than the firefighters. When we lose one, that's the same as losing 10 cops. In the last couple of years, we've probably lost about 50 firefighters. That would be the equivalent of, honestly speaking, 500 cops, because we don't leave early. In saying so, definitely what the city did yesterday, what they agreed to financially with the police officers was needed. You have to find a way to retain them. One thing my membership wanted to highlight tonight was we want to see in the budget those changes moving forward for this fiscal year. We'd also like you to include in the budget what it's going to cost to restore our pension benefits as well. We just spent 9 months out of contract negotiations, 1 year in total to restore just above 50% of our members. I got 50% more to go. That was a promise that was made to them. In fact, a lot of them actually had to spend thousands and thousands of dollars to spend money to buy benefits to guarantee them what they were hired with. That's a little preposterous, a little ridiculous. So we would like to see the proper amount of funding. It probably isn't tonight's budget. It will be in probably the next one, but we would like to see the full budget restoration for the firefighters. Also, I think the council will agree with me that we don't want 2 groups of first responders with different retirement benefits. They got in 2 negotiation sessions. God bless them. It took me a year and they still did better. God bless the boys in blue. But we would like to see that moving forward. And we'll be contacting the city on a reopener on that clause. And great job with our finance department, the most transparent finance department I have seen. And you guys know I'm probably the biggest budget critic in this city's history. So thank you to all of you. You guys worked hard.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do we have anybody else that would like to speak on behalf of tonight's budget? Okay, any announcements or amendments or corrections to the agenda?
No, ma'am.
All right, let's move on to our agenda item 8A.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of Hialeah, Florida, accepting for budget purposes the Miami-Dade County assessment roll, establishing a tax millage rate of 6.3018 mils for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024, which is an increase of 13.07% over the rollback rate of 5.5736, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Okay, thank you. This is first reading, but it's public hearing. All the items tonight are public hearing. So is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the item?
I'm just going to stand here. Eric Johnson, Hialeah Firefighters. We actually publicly stand in favor of the millage. It is important for the citizens to understand, at least from our point of view, that the cost of business has risen. It has risen exponentially. Each fire truck is $1.2 million. Staffing costs more money. Life-saving equipment costs more money. We're looking at a 40% increase in calls and a 40% increase in cost. It's reality. I know that I got with the mayor's staff just recently, and we have 8 fire stations in a trailer. The last time we touched the fire station was probably longer than some of you have been alive in this room. Unfortunately, I went to a fire station last week with Mr. Tim Benjamin, and it was quite the embarrassment. As we leaned against the wall, our arms went through the drywall. True story, facts. We need some major fixing in the city. Nobody wants to raise taxes continuously. We don't want it to go up above the property tax, but we cannot roll this back right now. Just in our department alone, we're looking at $20 million of expenditures, and that's just to get it livable. Just to get it livable. It's not a joke. We have put off our essential things for so long. And that's just the fire department. What about the police department? What about Parks and Rec? What about Fleet, for God's sakes? We're all dying. And we want to be popular politicians. We really do. We want to say, we're going to cut taxes and we're going to lower taxes. And God forbid, well, when you do that, you're going to lower your services. And we saw it under the former administration. We saw it under the old mayor. We cut and we cut and we cut and we cut. And then we went, oh, crap, we cut too much. Let's not make the same mistakes. We stand in support of this millage. We cannot continue to cut. What we're doing is cutting the lives of citizens by continue to cut.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. Do I have a motion on this item or do I have a motion by Councilwoman Casal?
Through the
And
chair.
I have a second by, was it? Tundidor? I have a second by Tundidor. For the roll.
Mr.
Chair.
Rodriguez, Mr. Tumidor, Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. All right, item 8B.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the general fund budget for the city of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023 and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing penalty for violation hereof, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on first reading and public hearing. Is there anyone on council chambers or anyone on the dais that would like to speak on behalf of an item?
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I think you might have missed me on the last one, so I guess I'll have to, since coming back on second reading, I'll try to focus on this item, but pardon me if I have to overlap a little bit. Obviously, I just got this book on Thursday. Really, I wasn't even able to start looking at it until Friday. So it is quite lengthy. I do have questions for staff. Hope they can help me answer some of them. I was on page 17 of the book. And I saw here under fiscal strategy, balanced budget is the subsection. And it's talking about revenue categories that have increased, including ad valorem taxes of 14.2%. I think I remember from our meeting and as highlighted here in the agenda, we're also talking about a water increase. I think it was 7.92 if that's accurate. And then the wastewater is slightly lower, 6.7. Is that about what it is?
Water 7.5 and sewer is 4.7.
Okay. So, I just wondered if you can kind of walk me through this, from this budget standpoint. When we have, we have these like great property value increases that we're experiencing. And last year, it was 12%. This year, we're looking at 14.2, as it states here in this book. When we have these increases, if we keep the millage rate as is, as we voted on in the previous item, does that increase the property taxes? Does it lower it? Does it stay the same? The property taxes, the ad valorem taxes the city receives?
I'm not understanding your question.
Sure,
This is based on assessed value. And
right.
so basically, we get this assessed value from the property appraiser's office.
Okay.
At this point,
is assessed at $17 billion, which represents $105 million of ad valorem tax, a 14.2% increase.
Okay, so it was 14.2%. And that's for property values. And what was the raw number?
Roughly $17 billion, 17.5. $105 million,
105 is what the city nets out of that?
correct.
Okay. And then the millage rate, obviously, we just voted on that, so we know where people are kind of thinking, what is that, 6 point what?
3018.
3018.
Mhm.
All right, cool. Great, so just to make sure I'm understanding here. Yeah. All right, so if we're at 14.2% increase and we keep the millage at 6.3018, our property taxes, does that go up, down, does stay the same in relation to last
Property
year?
taxes go up.
Property taxes go
Well,
up.
the property tax has gone up,
Okay,
right? The value has gone up. So basically what we receive
Excuse
has
me,
gone up.
excuse me. Actually, the right answer is that in some cases, some residents will experience a slight increase.
Correct.
In other cases, there'll be residents that will pay no increase whatsoever because of their exceptions.
okay, so is the city gonna get more taxes, less taxes? Or
The city's going to have more revenue to be able to meet the obligations. You can put that down. I see it. I see it. You can put it down. There's no cameras here, so you can put it down. Okay, the city's going to get more revenues to meet the obligations that we have.
Okay, I
okay.
understand that.
When you became a council member,
Okay,
and if you've read your budget books, okay, you've noticed how much money was needed to be able to maintain the city just to get it back to where it should be. Buildings in disrepair, woefully low on our police department. We're losing police officers almost on a daily basis. What this budget does, it's a very conservative budget, very conservative, not only meets those demands, but also addresses, because just like you, we knocked on doors also. And how many residents asked you, they needed their streets done, they wanted their drainage done. This budget does that also. Okay, so this is very simple. The property appraiser assesses property. We keep our millage rate the way it is. We get a slight bump as far as revenue, but all that revenue basically is not only reinvested into our budget, but accounted for in your budget book, which was ready last Wednesday. Last Wednesday on the 6th, it was ready. I don't know when you picked it up, but it was sitting in your desk probably on the 6th, which is last Wednesday.
great, so 6 days, 500 pages or so, whatever. Listen, I am concerned about the residents. And when I sat here last year and we had, our little chat about this very issue, we spoke about what the impact would be on residents. And if you remember last year, we talked about the Miami Realtors Association. They provided some interesting data, which was that at that time, a 1-bedroom in Hialeah was going for $1,650 on average. My concern last year, and I sent you a memo on this, was that this would cause, keeping the millage as is, would cause rents to go up in our city. And today, a 1-bedroom in Hialeah, according to the Miami Realtors, is $1,850 on average. So what we're talking about today is very serious, because what we're saying is the effect that this is going to have on residents. And I understand Save Our Homes is sort of blocking the city and saying, hey, you can't go up over the 3%. And if it weren't for that, state law, homeowners would be even, more up in arms. But specifically those renters, those businesses that are not going to be able to use Save Our Homes to prevent these increases, those people are going to be tremendously affected. And we're going to see, with this 14% increase, we're going to see rents in Hialeah cross on average for a 1-bedroom apartment over $2,000. That is a major affordability issue that needs to be discussed in a serious manner. And look, we can have distinct opinions on this, and that's fine. You can think that you're doing the best thing for the city. I can think that I'm doing the best on my point of view. That's totally fine. There's no issue with that whatsoever. But let's just have the conversation let's not take a vote in like 10 minutes without any discussion. That's what I'm asking for. And look, some of our friends, people that we've supported, you know, they're in positions of government different from ours. And they're advocating for some of the very same policies that I'm advocating for our city. So we can get into, you know, the weeds of it, and that's all I'm asking. But if I get a book 6 days before I'm supposed to put my name on it, it's very hard for me to assent to something without any discussion that is substantive in any manner. I mean, you know, I showed up here with the intention to talk about the issues. And look, we can all have a vote at the end of the day and say we agree or disagree. And that's fine. That's what a democracy is. But let's talk. That's why we're here.
I don't run the city, the council meetings. I have no problem with a debate. I think a lot of your facts are a little mixed up. The increase in rents have a lot more to do with supply and demand and perhaps a skyrocketing insurance than it does taxes. An average resident in the city of Hialeah that has had his home for a couple of years is going to probably experience about $80 worth of increase in tax value or taxes that they're going to be paying. $80 in exchange for having our parks open on the weekends, in exchange for maybe retaining police officers, retaining firefighters, doing the streets. Now, if you have a proposal that eliminates all that, and if you want to offer to the council a millage rate, the only thing I would ask you to do, the responsible thing, is explain to us then what do we cut so that we could tell the residents what you're in favor of reducing. We want to close parks on weekends. That's what we need to then communicate to the residents. We're not going to do the roads in southeast end of Hialeah. Then that's what we need to communicate to the residents. Simple enough, right?
Yeah, look, and with this budget and the presentation I got from your staff on Wednesday, was it Thursday? Okay. Last week, basically said, look, with this budget, we're going to do a couple things. And again, keep me honest if I make a blunder. We're going to be adding 9 new full-time positions. I believe that's accurate. Okay. One of those positions is, I believe, a communications director. Is that the appropriate title? What's it called?
We'll get.
Pedro DeFaria, Budget Director. It's a part-time media liaison just to help with communication, special events.
Right, but there was a full-time one as well.
That was actually a reclass.
Okay.
So if you look in your book, you see that one position was eliminated and that one was added. The only new position was that part-time position.
Okay. So what are the 9 positions? I think it'll be quicker that way.
I have it here. Mhm.
You have a planning and zoning principal planner. You have a
Planning and zoning deputy director. Okay, that's one.
You have a construction and maintenance
Ruth, put the
service
microphone
worker.
closer to you if you can. Thank you.
You have in fire department, you have 3 firefighters.
Okay, we're at 4.
In transit, you have a program specialist.
Program specialist for transit. Okay, 5.
Information technology, you have 3
Okay, 3 new IT.
new
people.
IT
Okay, so
to
we're at 8.
support an entire city.
Okay,
Police department, you have 1 digital records technician
digital records tech. Okay, 9. All
and
right, so that's
911 communications, 1 multiple. That was reduced to part, right? That's the one.
Okay, so those are the 9. And then what are there's 6 part-time positions. Are
Correct. Communications and special events, 1 part-time position, media specialist, education and community services, 4 part-time positions. And in retirement, 1 part-time position, records clerk.
a records clerk part-time.
Mhm.
All right, so that's the information I got last week. I believe another main expenditure was the software system for the accounting of the city, right? And that was
Yes. That's an ERP system
right. So that's the ERP, that's $6 million. We'll pay it in 2 parts, right? So
over a
3
2-year
million,
period.
right? Okay. I'm just not hearing there a 12, 13, 14% increase in services. The firefighters are great. I wish, we would have done 10 firefighters or what have you, or maybe 5 and 5 cops firefighters, maybe 911 personnel. God knows we need it. But it's sounding to me like, these are not necessarily positions that the residents themselves are going to benefit. If we're talking about, look, if you don't keep the millage as is, parks are going to be closed and, people are not gonna, we're not gonna have enough personnel to respond to these, incidents or fires or crimes. I think that's very draconian compared to what we're discussing here, which is adding, records clerks and IT people. I mean, I'm sure they're essential positions, but they're not necessarily number one priorities that we need to be going to our residents and saying, hey, look, you're retired. Sorry, you got to pay a little bit more. Or you're not retired, you're working, you rent, and you're going to pay a lot more now in your rent or what have you. So that's my challenge. I don't think we're spending the money in the way that I'd like to see it being spent.
This is where we're going on 9 individuals. Is there anything else in the budget that you also have the issue with, or we could address it now?
Mayor, if I had a budget staff that could look at this with me, I'm sure I would find more things, but in 6 days, there's no way that anyone here read this packet. There's no way.
Ruth, when does our budget process start?
Starts in February.
In February, and that process of
Takes-
budget preparation, if you could walk me through it for a second, or walk us all through it for a second.
Okay, can you go through the slide and I can show you?
It's in our book.
It's here. It's the second slide, the third slide. Go down
On
one.
page 15
Page 3, the slide 3,
in our books.
that one. So we start our preparation of the budget in February. From March through July, we're basically working with each individual department, sometimes multiple times, depending on the size of the department. On July 1st, we get basically the information, the official numbers from the property appraiser's office. In July and August, we basically are assembling the book, repackaging the budget, and we're meeting with basically our mayor and council. Today, we're here for the first budget hearing. We have our second budget hearing on the 27th or 28th, I can't see from here, 27th. And then we finish the budget in September. This year ends on September 30th.
Was the timeline for last year's budget similar to this one?
Last year's budget, we started a lot later just because the administration was new.
But
But it was similar timeline.
Okay.
I have a question, Mayor. Were all the council members called? Because I know I was called and I sat in a 4-hour meeting
Yes.
and I dissected the budget.
And
Did you
Yes,
contact?
we met
anyone?
with each council member
Okay.
and we went over the
And I think
presentation.
that
and
was
any-
in end of August.
It was the end of August. It
The end of
depended on
August.
the schedule and how we could coordinate, right? We were basically, we would accommodate the council member.
Through the chair also,
I sat in that meeting. I don't know.
and through the chair.
Yes.
Ruth, before that, how many meetings you and I have had
Mul-
specifically for budgets?
Multiple meetings.
Chief staff, how many meetings have we had, you and I? So we've asked, okay. So any questions I had, just so you all can know, was answered before coming over here. So it was hours of work and meetings, and thank you very much.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done the same. The doors have been open. I've sat with different departments. I've called them. And I've also requested, I've gone privately to different departments and I've said, what are your needs? What do you need? What are we not meeting? I know that I've talked to different departments and they've requested more hours or more employees. And those are things that I've come back to the mayor with. I understand that, looking at this is hefty if you wait till the last minute, but if you already are hearing and speaking with our departments, I already know that some of them were missing. I know that Mylander was missing an employee that they're allocated for in the budget. I know that libraries is short 3 people. I know that Parks has been telling me they've been having issues with hiring, especially in the summer. So I've had these conversations. When I turn the pages and I see what they're requesting, I'm not in awe. I know that licensing hired a new person recently and they've been training them there in the department.
So if I can add, one of the challenges we've had is in the infrastructure and trying to meet basically the capital needs that we have. So when you're looking at an increase in ad valorem tax of 105, yes, 13 million or $14 million more. If you look at my next slide, we've had increases in rising utilities and fuel costs. We've had increases in supplies and materials. I think we've all seen that. But we've also invested heavily in capital. And so there's $11 million of one-time capital expenditures that are basically budgeted here. And that is where you're seeing the increase in ad valorem tax. We've also negotiated with two unions, the fire and police. That is a huge increase to our budget. And we're in the process of negotiating with AFSCME, and we don't know where that will lead, right? So when we're looking at the increases of the city, we're looking at increases not only in fire and police, but throughout the entire city are our capital infrastructure needs. So if I can walk you through at least the capital presentation, I can show you our $62 million of our budget is all capital investments.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
I'm, so I don't even know where, I mean, I don't even know where to start, but I think it's very simple, right? And sometimes, you know, at me at work, I mean, we dive into so many things and we try to, you know, psychoanalyze every single point. And by doing that, you know, shows that you're equipped, right? You're equipped, you know, you're talented, you have certain experiences that you could bring into whatever it is that you're doing. But the problem with that is that sometimes you don't even notice and you're complicating things more than you should, right? I forget who said it, but someone said, if you can't explain something very simple, then maybe you just don't understand it, right? And so I like to break things down very, very simple, right? Black and white. I think, you know, if we were to even consider some sort of rollback, right? You know, you would have to think, okay, you know, we want to roll it back enough to still provide some service, right? And we know that Hialeah is not a rich town, right? Hialeah is not a rich city. We're not Doral. We're not Miami Beach. We're not the city of Miami. So whatever rollback would even be considered has to be extremely conservative, right? So that rollback, that conservative rollback, you would have to ask yourself, okay, what would that equate to the property owner, right? Is it a significant savings, right? Probably not. Right. And so to say that argument, that's why it's a bit flawed to me, because whatever rollback we do, considering the obligations that we have, is not going to reduce any type of rent. Right. It's not going to that doesn't translate to that. Right. It's not significant enough to do that. And if we want to be naive and believe that any type of rollback that we do is going to actually help voters, right? Then we're really naive, and we need to really dive into these numbers a little more. But I just want to, I kind of want to just highlight some of, you know, you gave this
Yes.
this other thing. So the city of Hialeah ranks number 2 in Miami-Dade County as far as population, although we know that number is not really that real, but we have other municipalities right underneath us, you know, Miami Gardens, you have City of Miami Beach, you know, you have these other municipalities that have a very strong ad valorem return, but when you look at the population size, is very, very small. So I like to reiterate, because I know you have folks here that maybe are watching online or maybe out in the audience. Hialeah is not a rich town, but we have a lot of people, and we are a self-service city. Right. That means that we provide a lot of the essential services that we need in-house. We don't sub that out to Miami-Dade County. We keep it in-house. I look at Miami Gardens, Miami Beach, Doral. They don't have all the services that we do. Right. So it's very important to keep that in mind. And lastly, Ruth, again, just very high level, keeping it simple. You know, if I were to ask you the gain. Right, the gain in ad valorem, just ad valorem, right? It was 14%. What does that equal to? What is that?
$105 million.
What? No, the gain.
13, no, it was 14.2%. 13.1 million.
Okay, so 13 million.
Yeah.
So that's fine. 13 million. We've seen an increase in salaries of about what, but from last year, 8 million.
It's roughly
8 million, more or less 8 million. Operating, you know, so put another 5
so
million.
operating. You have to calculate another 10%. overall in operating
Right.
expenses.
And then capital, probably the biggest increase that we've ever seen, right?
That is correct.
So it's tough because I think we've always talked about this. I think, you know, the mayor hit it right on the head here where it's, you know, if we want to vote against this budget, we're voting against these services, right? We're voting against these capital infrastructure projects. I don't recall ever seeing from my time here, ever seeing the city ever invest in capital projects using ad valorem, right? It's the first time that we're pretty much seeing at
That's
this
correct.
scale. And when you go down to East Hialeah, Southeast Hialeah, that's a big complaint, right? Infrastructure issues, street issues. So I think at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that what the gain that we've experienced, right?
Mhm.
That those funds have been properly allocated to the needs of this community,
That is correct.
right? Those, you know, those funds that we have seen in that gain, again, have gone to projects that have been needed for many, many years.
Mhm.
We're actually experiencing a moment now where as a city, we could address them, we can make that change, right? Because of this rise in property value. And so I think, look, we've said it before, it's very easy to be on the other side of making a tough decision, right? It's very easy to play politics, right? In moments like this. The reason why we shouldn't do that is because if we put politics before policy, then nothing gets done, right? We could easily say, you know what, we're not going to fix any roads. We're going to shut down the parks a little earlier. We're going to cut fire. We're going to cut police. But we'll look like a superstar, right, in front of the TV. And so it just depends on what we want to do. But I think if we want to really see the change that's needed, if we want to take Hialeah to the next step, then we got to make the tough decisions, right? And listen, and not everybody could do it, right? Not everyone's cut out for it, and I respect that, right? People have their strengths in different areas, but at the end of the day, I just want to say that it's you know, we shouldn't be playing politics with things so important like this, with our first responders, with emergency services. Those are things that maybe we shouldn't really do that with. But again, I thank you, Ruth. I've seen you multiple times too. I don't like to brag and say all those things, but you guys do a really good job. Imani does a great job, and I'm very proud of this budget. Thank you.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, sir.
Just want to clear up the record. The first meeting that I had scheduled was the August 29th, hearing. August 29th meeting. That meeting was canceled 3 minutes before the meeting was supposed to begin with the budget staff and the mayor. We rescheduled as promptly as possible. That meeting was set for Thursday of last week, September 7th. The mayor didn't even attend the meeting, but I was able to meet with staff. Listen, we can disagree about ideology, right? And I just believe that my money is, and the residents' money is better spent by them in their pocket, not by the government, not by the city. I've been advocating for at least hydrants, fire hydrants, to be fixed in our city. It's been 10 months since we approved $500,000 to fix hydrants, and the hydrants right next to my house are still not fixed. So to say that this money is just all of a sudden gonna fix every issue, I think is total understatement. Especially if you're trying to get $5 million from the city of Hialeah. It's kind of ridiculous. But thank you.
Okay. We had a motion by Councilwoman Casals Munoz, and I had a second by Councilmember Tundidor. Can we call the roll, please?
Mr. Tundidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby? He's away. Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Item C, please.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Public Works Fund of the City of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024. commencing on October first, 2023, and ending on September thirtieth, 2024, approving water and sewer rate increases as provided for herein to maintain proper coverage ratios as required by outstanding bond covenants, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. We have, this is first reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak on behalf of the item?
Juan Santana, 5601 West 10th Avenue. I remember during COVID, I was trying to give a presentation on how could we lower our garbage bill. I don't know what information you have now regarding does Hialeah continue not knowing how to recycle properly in the green dumpsters? Because basically they still don't know what to put in the green dumpsters.
Juan, there's nobody buying the recycling. The conversation that the city's having.
Yeah, it's Public Works, which that money goes, you guys gotta
I
pay the
understand.
contractors.
The conversation that the city's having right now
Okay,
is how do we address this issue of that nobody's buying recycling? And how do I take your green bin away that now you're used to having?
listen, I completely agree with you, and I've been saying that, I think you were here, we did it through Zoom. I asked for more time, I didn't get more time. Basically, we messed up, right? The city messed up regarding
No,
on how
no,
the
no.
property, hold on.
No, no,
sir,
wait,
hold on.
wait,
This
wait,
is
wait.
not,
No,
this is
no,
not
wait,
your
wait,
time.
wait a second, wait a
This
second.
is,
If you're gonna
please
say
allow
that
me more
this,
time.
if you say, give him
No, no,
all
I'm
the time he
saying-
needs, give him all the time he needs. If you say the city messed up, you have to be very careful.
Not you, I'm
Because-
not
no,
talking your
I-
administration.
Understand
about your
something,
administration.
I'm not blaming any administration. When
Mhm.
you say the city messed up, you gotta be careful because
Mhm.
then you have to say that the county messed up and the city of Doral messed up and Miami-Dade. Nobody is recycling. Nobody is recycling, okay? Cities across the state and across the country have come to the realization the Chinese ain't buying anything. The Indians are no longer gonna buy anything. There's nobody buying recycled material. So we've been going through this farce, all of us, by putting stuff in the green bin. I got very well educated when I first got to the city here. And I asked, well, what about this recycling? And I was told it's all going into the landfill,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yep.
We're not recycling. And then we need to come up with a plan now, okay, on how we get ourselves out of the business and be very transparent. And the biggest problem is, how do I get people who are used to their green bin and tell them we may have to take your green bin away?
I think me and President, we had a conversation about this. I laid out a complete plan. Nobody wanted to hear it. No, because of an eyesore of putting, I guess where you guys have the pickleball. Now, I was just giving an example that if people want to recycle, they should take it to certain places in Hialeah to recycle. It's as simple as that, like other cities and counties do throughout Florida. You know, and basically, when I spoke to Waste Management, when I was registered as a lobbyist for that meeting, I got the cone of silence and I couldn't find out more information. You know, basically, if the trash, to my understanding, if it doesn't hit 70, it has to be 97% recyclable. If it doesn't hit 97% recyclable, it becomes trash. But it's kind of like I said in prior administration, I told them, I said, now you're going to take away the green bin. Now we're going to have 2 brown ones. And then now we're going to have an increase of garbage more. You know, they're going to charge more money. You know, are you planning while you're here to actually start saying, okay, do we need to bring back our own garbage department? You know, we always talk about that we have our own public amenities, and we used to have that for many, many, many years. And we actually have to come together as the body and your administration to say, you know what, maybe we should start tackling to see if we could possibly bring back our own garbage department. You get me? And, you know, I'll send it to you. I'll send you what information I had, because what we should have done was a 3-tier garbage: glass, plastic, and metals. And then they put this big, ugly green dumpster, you know, and it doesn't work, you know, but thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion on this?
Through the
item?
chair. Chair.
You're recommended.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, this is a totally different issue now, because now we're talking about water, and the first resolution that I brought forth on this council was about water itself. And, I'll simplify it. I'll make it very simple. The city of Hialeah is obviously the third most expensive water by municipality countywide. A lot of the rhetoric is, we're doing it because the county's raising our rates, and so we're just the pass through. I think what's left out on that rhetoric is that, we charge our 4% franchise fee. That's one of the items that'll come up in a second. But separately from that, we built a water plant. We built a water plant that was $100 million. The city took out a $50 million bond. I think we owe $42 million or so. Maybe it's a little less since the last time I got that figure. But that water plant, it's just, it's not really producing what it should be producing. Don't know why, but the water that it does produces it, pretty expensive. Actually more expensive, believe it or not, than the water that we buy from the county, even as the county continues to raise their prices on us, wholesale prices on us. So, we could lower water if we wanted to, if we just stopped producing our city of Hialeah, reverse osmosis water, because that water is even more expensive than this raised water from the county. And that's a policy that I, wanted to seriously look into, and we kind of reneged, and, we stopped doing our water workshops, and I think water's pretty much, out the window in policy for the time being. But, I just stand against continuing to burden people with these increased water prices. If you're a renter, it gets passed on to your rent more than likely. A lot of our older buildings don't have sub-meters. If you're lucky enough to own your own home, or you live in a newer building with the sub-meters, then you're going to see it there. But long story short, it's an additional tax that we are putting on people by continuing to approve these increased inflated water values on them. And then on top of that, charging a 4% franchise tax on them. So totally against that. I wish we could get back to water in a very serious fashion. I agree with the mayor. I agree that, that infrastructure is important. It's what's going to propel development over the next 100 years. We need to make the appropriate investments, but we also need to keep in mind that residents, they just can't anymore. I mean, it gets to a point where people are literally being priced out of Hialeah. And, we need to have serious discussions about that. Last year, we had WARP. I think it maybe adopted a different name, but only 130 people, took advantage of it. What kind of, marketing campaign did we do on that? So, I think we're going to have to get serious about water once again. I hope we do that. I'm sure this item will pass. I'll be voting against, but I hope that in this coming year, we'll get serious about water once again. Thanks.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilwoman Casals
A
Munoz.
second.
I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo,
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robles.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez. Mr. Tonidor.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Item D.
Ma'am, if I can please record Councilmember Zogby's vote on item 8B.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Proposed resolution reaffirming the current rate of 4% of all sales of wastewater service and all sales of water service within the city as payment in lieu of franchise fee pursuant to Hialeah, Florida Code Section 94-163 for fiscal year 2024, beginning on October 1st, 2023, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is in public hearing. Does anybody would like to speak on behalf of the item? Or any council discussion?
5601 West End Avenue, Washington. Once again, I say it again, and it's again and again. Just like you guys are getting out of the business of schools, we really need to get out of the business of franchising. It's 4%, guys. You get me? every single year that this franchising nonsense for previous administration have been happening here, it's hurting because it adds up. It doesn't stop. You know, a lot of old people, they call me, they tell me, "Hasta cuándo?" I'm like, listen, listen, we have to find solutions. You guys sit up there, you guys hear us out. But I always tell them, I said, try to help them come up with a solution. We are all human beings. Okay, we are all human beings. So if I tell you, hey, look, you want to tackle the housing issue? Let's try this. You want to tackle the water? Let's try this. You know, I've spoken to Mayor Levine about the water issue, but I tell him, listen, it is what it is. You know, but the franchising fee, it gotta stop. And I know you could do it. I know you could do it. At the end of the day, it's up to you as the administrator of the city to say no more franchising fee. It has to stop. That's why I asked, how much money do we have in the water department? And I have to say it over and over and over again, because why? I've been asking councilmen for years and nobody's been able to tell me anything, you know? And then, you know, Mr. Vidal already left. He's been always great with me. You know, anytime there was an issue, I would call him, look, I have sewage coming up to my knees in front of my house. The next day he was out there cleaning it up. You get me? But at the end of the day, we have to really ask, how much money do we have in the water department? Are we going to be able to tackle the infrastructures of fixing our pumps? And believe it or not, you've been doing a great job. I tell people that everywhere. I said, listen, Bo is doing the best he can do with what he has. You have to give him a chance to work, right? It's as simple as that, right? And I said, you know what, I'll be the first one to say it if he's messing up. You know, I'll be the first one here saying that he's messing up. Okay, but you have to give him a chance to work. But this franchising fee, has anybody done the numbers regarding the franchising fee? Has anybody looked at the numbers? Has anybody asked the employees behind us regarding the franchising fee? Like, how much money does the city get every year from this franchising fee? Because I never hear that. And at the end of the day, this is about money. You know, what the franchising fee has to, that's it. Let's cut it. You know, but that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Motion.
You wanted to speak on behalf of the item? Oh,
Second. I don't know, someone make a motion. So while we wait through the chair,
yeah, give me a second.
yes, I just want to say
Yeah.
a few comments. So I think it's also important to note that when most of us got here a couple of years ago, we brought up the franchise fee. And we actually had a study done on the franchise fee. It's not something unique to Hialeah, it's something that we've seen throughout Florida as well. And again, because of the mistakes of the past, you know, this fee was brought about, right? And then it was used to assist ad valorem. But I'm happy to say that since we got here, we've seen a reduction in that fee. And I think we saw the biggest fee when the administration got in and it reduced down to 4%, started at 10, right? And so again, these types of things, I don't think it's like a Band-Aid, right? You shouldn't just rip it off. These are things that you slowly, gradually wave off, right? You know, that franchise fee, I think Ruth, and you don't have to do it now, but could probably speak better about this than I can. Those funds were allocated to specific things within the city of Hialeah, right? That franchise fee that was generated, it would be allocated to certain things. By cutting that right off the bat, I believe it puts those things at risk. Is that a fair statement?
Well, those funds are now part of our general fund, right?
Right.
So yes, you're basically reducing, you know, capital projects and
Right.
other needs, right?
Yeah. Okay,
Right.
thank you.
Ruth, if you could, because I think the question I think asked here is what does the 4% translate to in dollars and cents?
Roughly $3.5 million.
$3.5 million. Okay, so if we were to eliminate it completely,
Mhm.
and perhaps that's something to bring for the second round of the budget,
Mhm.
okay? Because I don't think it would be wise to do it now until we can analyze it a little bit
Mhm.
further. And I know we've talked about this ad nauseam in our meetings. I need to understand, or the council should understand, what did that mean as far as what projects are impacted? What water projects that are being initiated by the water department would be impacted? And how much does that delay some of the projects that we're trying to do?
Okay.
Okay, and just as a reminder to all of the members, okay, you know, these water projects, these lining projects, these water pump projects, all these things that we try to go to Tallahassee, try to go to federal government, we try to go every place we can to find money to be able to do it, including the county, is what sustains the growth. It's what sustains the ability. All of you, every single one of you, I'm sure, has dealt with somebody coming to you with a Durham issue. And what do you think the whole Durham issue is all about? Okay, it's about investing in your water, investing in, whether it's grease traps or pump stations or lift stations, it's all related to the same thing. Okay.
Okay, Mayor, I'd feel comfortable if they come back with some numbers, and I appreciate the support, just so we could analyze that and see what, I know this was a discussion that we had discussed this 4% when I met with you, and I remember that number. So just if we could discuss it a little bit more and have a better understanding on it on second reading and see what we can do, because this is something that is an area of concern.
So obviously, we'll go over capital projects and see what capital projects would be removed.
Just as a reminder, between first and second reading, okay, it isn't like the budget doesn't go away, right? It continues, and we take the input and we'll come back if it's prudent, okay? And I commit to you, we'll take a look at it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, I think there was some council discussion and I didn't hear it. Was there a motion that I didn't hear? I apologize, Councilman Zaghi, you made a motion. Is there a second?
Ma'am, this item only requires one reading. So if we're evaluating to bring it back, we can defer it, or are we taking a vote?
So then let's defer. So motion to defer by Councilwoman Casals Munoz,
Second.
and I have a second by Councilmember Tundidor. Thank you.
Mr. Calvo,
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz,
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez,
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby.
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is deferred until September 27th, 2023.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, moving on to item E, please.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Streets Fund of the City of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on first reading and public hearing. Do we have anyone in council chambers, online, that would like to speak on behalf of this item?
Motion.
I have a motion by
And
Councilmember
second.
Tundidor, and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Ms. Casal Munoz.
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes,
Yes.
Ms. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes.
Mr. Tundidor.
Yes.
Mr. Zogby,
Yes.
Mr. Calvo.
No.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Item F.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the Stormwater Fund of the City of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on first reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this item? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve by Councilwoman Casals Munoz,
And a second.
and I have a second by Councilmember Zogby. Can we please call the roll?
Ms. Garcia Robes.
Yes.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Item G.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the special revenue funds of the city of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. This item is on first reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this item? Seeing there is none,
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rodriguez.
Second.
I have a second by Councilwoman Casal Munoz. Can we call the roll?
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz?
Yes.
Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you. Moving on to item H.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the capital project funds of the city of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Okay, all right, yeah. So this item is on first reading and public hearing. And if anybody wants to see it, it's on page 70. I'm sure you guys have seen the list of items that we have. It's really phenomenal. I'm truly excited to really pass this through. So I think this, like, I believe Councilmember Tumidor had brought it up and said that nothing like this had ever been included, at least since I've been here. That I've seen any projects like this listed with kind of commitments and promises to things that we're going to update throughout the city. So I'm truly excited to see this go through. Any council discussion?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilmember Tumidor and I have a second by Councilwoman Casal Munoz. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
All right. Next item is item I.
First reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance approving and adopting the budget for the debt service funds of the city of Hialeah, Florida for fiscal year 2024, commencing on October 1st, 2023, and ending on September 30th, 2024. Repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for a severability clause and providing for an effective date.
Okay, this item again is on first reading and public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to discuss this item?
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Casal Munoz and I have a second by Councilmember Tumidor. Can we please call the roll?
Mr. Tumidor?
Yes.
Mr. Zogby?
Yes.
Mr. Calvo?
No.
Ms. Casal Munoz? Ms. Garcia Robes?
Yes.
Ms. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes.
Motion carries. The item is approved. Second reading and public hearing is scheduled for September 27th, 2023.
Thank you, council members. And just a reminder, all of you are more than welcome, as we've stated from the very beginning. You get at any time, come to my office. My staff is available. You could still come and talk about details of the budget. If there's things that you have to question or the things that you want some clarification on. This process does not stop at any time. Okay, and again, doors are open. We encourage you to come and understand the process of the budget and the long-term plans that we're trying to carry out. But again, appreciate your support.
As Mr. Vidal used to say, what? The budget is a living, breathing organism, right?
I forgot.
All right. With that being said, our first budget